Previously, in X-Men, the X-Men are captives of the malevolent Dr. Doom, and each imprisoned in a death trap of Doom's devious design. While each of the mutant heroes struggles to escape, Doom, aided by the assassin Arcade, notices that Nightcrawler is no longer in his cell. All the while, the team leader, Storm, encased in chrome, rages both inside and out. Today, we are reading Uncanny X-Men 147 in episode 56.
That's the one.
Of our never-ending Tuesday night live stream, previously in X-Men, from Group of 7 Comics. That makes me Jason Lapidus.
That makes me Chris Sanagan.
Fantastic. I'm so glad you're Chris Sanagan.
Thanks, buddy.
And I'm so glad we are reading these comics, Chris, because I have not read these ones before. We are venturing into the gap in my my childhood reading, which is a lot of fun.
So you end at the Claremont and Byrne ending?
Yeah.
And then you stop reading X-Men. When do you pick it back up again?
Okay, so it doesn't exactly go like that.
Okay.
It goes that when I get on X-Men as a reader, I'm about 10 years old, and I start reading the ongoing Uncanny X-Men at around issue 200. I start picking up copies here and there and reading friends' copies, and so around issue 200. And that's when Classic X-Men starts simultaneously. So right. I get on Classic X-Men #1 because a #1 is a very appealing place to begin for a kid.
Always.
And clearly for adults too.
Still
so I was reading those simultaneously. And the Classic X-Men series stopped holding my interest as the book got less and less nicely produced. Like it turned into a different title. It dropped the backup stories. The paper kind of changed. And once they finished the Dark Phoenix saga, I stopped collecting. At that point, it also might have been around 1990, and I sort of was petering out of comics and really picking and choosing what I was going to keep reading, what I wasn't. So I stopped reading regular X-Men. I stopped reading most Marvel comics at that point in time. So I never kind of got to read these when I was in those formative X-reading years. So it's a lot of fun. And then you picked this one up for me, which is X-Men Classic, the reprint at the Dragon, I believe the week preceding Fan Expo this year. And you, so yes. I'm really happy to have a copy of that one and a copy of the original, and to like sort of see what, if you want to, let's say we've got the cover here, we can just add this one right in. You can sort of see, we did it before. Dare we do it again? Now, what do you think that's referring to, by the way? I mean, you've read it, so I guess you have a sense.
Well, just on the cover, it'd be to Storm losing control of her powers, or somebody losing control of their powers.
Right. So they're alluding to something.
Yes.
And then if we were just to compare this cover design, I'll go back to a nice, amazing solo layout. So there we go. We got these two here. So
that's really interesting because normally it's a completely different image.
Yeah, and we remember
this is, I know it's obviously different artwork and different layout, but it's the same premise.
It is, and like Wolverine being front and center.
That's right, always.
And Doom being front and center, which is cool. None of the other X-Men. One of the other things that I sort of don't like is so much is I don't like the color of Storm's powers. Like I kind of wish there was. I'm not sure. The lightning I like. Her energy, I don't know if I dig, but I really don't dig it on this one.
Oh no, I don't.
Because her hand is in front of the X-Men logo.
Yeah.
But her head is behind it?
It looks like the title is smashing into her head.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It doesn't work.
Cockrum? Is it a Cockrum cover?
Yeah, it's Cockrum. It those are like little things I don't dig about this cover, but yeah, a small thing here or there. Hello, David Cutler. How are you, sir? That sheer fabric boob shadow is pretty risque for 1981. Hey, guys. Agreed. It is pretty risque for 1981. They really can't help but objectify this character so often. Because, if she's going to be her truest self, she doesn't have to be naked.
What?
Right? When another character wants to be their most true, passionate self, they don't necessarily turn into, power incarnate and must be naked. But in Storm's case, yeah, they really take every opportunity to take her clothes off.
Does that ever change?
We're going to find out, aren't we? 1 week
I
at
guess
a time.
we will in our never-ending run. But it's been a common thread since the beginning of our series.
Yes.
Naked Storm.
Yes.
Or near naked Storm.
I do find it fun that Nightcrawler is standing on the UPC code.
That's right.
It acknowledges that the UPC code is there. So,
right.
To me, my ex-friends. Hello, Jason. How are you? Glad you guys can both be here. I was talking about both of you last night at my band practice because one of my bandmates watches our show when he can, and he was talking about
why.
The two of you are just the nicest guys, and I had to clarify for him that it was all lies, that you were both charlatans and you're faking it. So no, he was really, he thought you guys were just really, really great, and loves that you're here. So thank you for being here and for being really nice guys. There you go.
Keep on keeping on, fellas.
I kind of want to dive into this one.
Yeah, let's do it.
So yeah, we've had, this is the third of 3 in this Dave Cockrum's return to the title. He exited to pursue another project, like he wanted to do, I think, Cull the Conqueror, and things didn't really work out. He took a bump here or there and had to do Star Trek for a bit, and just never really found his groove. And coming back to X-Men, when the series is at its height in terms of popularity, seems like a tough move, and he just seems like maybe a generation too old to do it after what Claremont and Byrne turned it into. So we're going to see if he can kind of catch up to the series, or redirect the series, or what's going to happen, because people do talk about his run in a favorable way eventually. And I know that David mentioned last week, I think, that it does get better. Or maybe that was on Instagram. So I'm excited sort of to go on the journey and see what happens. Jason, in response to comments about his personality, fuck yes. Okay, thank you.
America.
David says, on the pro-feminism side of this era of Claremont, Shooter took away his god-level ex-woman in Phoenix. Yes. And Claremont immediately starts to amp up Storm's powers to godhood. Yeah, we're going to see that happen in this issue in a big way.
I'm really glad, David, you brought that up.
That's
something I'd like to, when we get into that, talk about that very thing, because that was absolutely
definitely
that. Yeah,
definitely was. It feels like a retreading on ground that we've just been on.
Which could be why the caption on the front cover is "We did it before, dare we do it again?"
Right. Which is, I think it is a reference to Dark Phoenix.
I think you're right too.
Yeah.
Shall we?
Please.
Here we go.
I dig.
I also very much dig this image. And now you had mentioned, so Nightcrawler is Cockrum's creation design.
Yes.
And he feels very comfortable, unlike, say, Wolverine,
right,
when he draws Nightcrawler. To have a splash of Nightcrawler like this, I think this looks awesome.
I do too. The only thing I would say is in the narration, it says they're 2 miles up. That is not 2 miles from that castle.
That's about 500 feet.
I've been up in the air, a couple thousand meters.
Right.
Or maybe was it feet or was it meters? I don't even know anymore. It's been so long. It's been
in a plane, perhaps.
Actually, out of a plane, but I've been in a similar situation to Nightcrawler. Let's put it that way.
Nice.
Where I'm up and looking down, and I'm on my way down, and I do not have teleporting powers unlike Nightcrawler. But point was going to be that that is a very, very close castle. But I get the idea is to communicate clearly.
Maybe the castle is just that big.
Sure. Okay, we'll go with that. Anthony, good evening. Thanks for joining us. Nice to have you here. Yeah, the opening splash is great. Yeah. like I can hear the thunder going, and it feels like, it matches the castle setting and him being a demon, and like the whole thing. It all kind of goes together really nicely.
It is very
And
cool.
yeah, it also leaves, like, they do the word placement really nicely. Rogue Storm.
Now, Rogue is a character. I know we haven't been introduced to
Not
Rogue
yet.
No, not yet. I know that. Is Rogue a Claremont character?
Well, I feel like we just talked about this before the stream.
Well, we kind of did, but
So since you brought it up, and I'll bring it up at the end again for anyone who catches on later, next week we're going to take a detour. We are going to not read Uncanny X-Men 148, but we are going to read Avengers Annual 10, which is of the right time period. It's almost of the right month. It's just good timing because this story arc ends and another one will begin. Avengers Annual 10 is the first appearance, famously, of Rogue. And the issue is, of course, written by Chris Claremont. So it is like X-canon, right? It's part of the canon of Chris Claremont narratives, and it deeply informs the X-Men moving forward. So it feels like a great time to insert that into our monthly comic book chronology.
Absolutely. So I think it's really exciting, and I think it's going to be a ton of fun. And having you explain that to me makes me even more excited because, of course, I haven't read the comic. Like all these comics, I've read the comic. But I just wonder, when I see things like this, Rogue Storm, and the intentionality of release date of characters, I'm like, oh, is he just doing this because he's putting her name in the book?
Right. You got to wonder, like, is this where the idea is like, I like that name?
That's what I mean. That's exactly. Right. That's all.
So I'm going to say that I feel like this happens all the time with the later generation, like the Image guys, where they hear a word in the comic books from their childhood and they decide to like make a character based on that.
Right.
Because a lot of their characters have just that's my taste. They have names, I think, that are really dumb. And so, there was an issue where we had something with the word Gambit in it earlier, like a title with the word Gambit. Like, Jim Lee just was like, there should be a character called Gambit. Yes. Graydon says, I enter the chat and scream. You and Nightcrawler together, sir. How are you, Graydon? Jason says, will you dive into Miss Marvel 1617-18 for Mystique? Thought about it, and no, sir, we will not. It's too much Miss Marvel for me. But I think there's justification to do it, but it strays too far for my personal taste.
And we had a little taste of Mystique, right? A couple issues ago.
We did, and we'll probably have some more. Maybe she's, maybe we'll see. We'll see what happens. David says, super likely, I think, even if he wasn't conscious of it. So, like, we're talking about the Rogue thing, I believe.
Yeah.
There. Like Youngblood's Shaft. Yeah, and
oh, you're talking about the
character names, like, and the character Dutch, and
not the Shaft and Youngblood,
and the character Bishop. Like, all these things are just words that I feel like they read in comic books. I don't feel like they're coming from outside, except for Dutch, of course, is Predator. But yeah. Anyway,
wow,
I'm surprised her name wasn't Totality. Yeah, Claremont really loves certain words over and over and over, but Rogue Storm. Anyway. So yeah, the usual crew, Claremont, Dave Cockrum, Joseph Rubenstein this time. This is the third of 3, so we get that. Very nice. 2 miles above the ground, the German-born mutant X-Man Nightcrawler appears literally out of nowhere and screams. And Graydon says, what about a superhero named Bub? I just thought of that. Never heard of it before.
Bub.
Oh, no. Here's playing on that theme. A superhero named Snicked. Or Banff. Anyway. So we get a lot of exposition here, of course.
Yeah.
There will be plenty of Nightcrawler. I imagine you don't want to read all of this.
I'm okay with just, there's a lot. So I'm okay. I mean, I think you and I tend to err on the side of we like interactions with characters when we do a lot of the voices. And when it's just one person, it's a lot. And so I'm happy to just kind of glaze over.
Okay, couple quick notes. He's making mention of the fact that the momentum, the inertia, of his fall is not displaced when he teleports. He'll carry the same sort of speed and momentum wherever he teleports to. So it wouldn't be safe to just put himself on the ground because he'll just smash into the ground. So of course he uses the water really wisely, and it's freezing, so he has to go for a very long, like an hour-long swim after splashing down. I don't know why he couldn't just teleport.
Yeah.
Once he landed, but I'm going to assume it's because he couldn't focus. The water was so cold and he was so exhausted.
You know what'd be kind of cool, just throwing this out here, is
What?
if it's established that he carries the energy with him, like it doesn't delay, it doesn't lessen. It reminds me of speaking of more X things in the film of X-Men: The Last Stand. There's a few action sequences where Colossus jumps off and gathers up momentum, and Blink creates a teleport, and he shows up and like knocks over a Sentinel, and which I thought looked pretty cool. Just
and Days of Future Past, yes.
Yeah, sorry, thank you. Days of Future Past, thank you. Not Last Stand. Which I thought was a neat way of like building momentum, like the science behind it, and then using it as a weapon. Like you almost think if Nightcrawler can maintain that energy power level, like if he had like some kind of, not a suit, but some kind of thing that would actually make it even more like he brings that energy with him, and releases it almost like kinetically. I don't know,
like Black Panther in the movies,
maybe a little bit. Yeah, that's on my mind recently. I just watched with my kid for the first time, and so every time there was a kinetic release, my 11-year-old lost his mind.
That's awesome. It was a really cool power.
It was super cool. sorry. Yeah, thanks, Jason. Low. Yeah, Dave's a future past. Yeah. Anyway.
Hey, Trevor, how are you? David says there are so many Wolverine clones these days. It's just a matter of time until we get one named Snicked, for sure. Yeah, Dave's. Good. Anthony says, unrelated to the stream, but Jason Lowe, excited for your Cerebro episodes. Congrats on getting a guest spot. Woohoo!
Wait, that's a different X-Men thing, right? YouTube channel, or podcast. That competes with us, right? Is that what that is?
No, it doesn't compete.
No, but it's an X-Men podcast, right?
Correct.
Okay. You do voices in? Do you do voices on that one? You don't, huh? Okay.
Okay, one other art note I like about this. Okay, two things actually. One is I love that vertical panel where he's falling. Like this is just kind of cartooning 101. You have a character who's falling great distance. Why don't we just use the vertical panel to illustrate that?
And your eye, right? Your eye follows the fall, which is really
exactly. Cool. And the lightning, is a guide down, like a visual device to take your eye down, which is cool. And I also like that they took the time to give him night colors. Right? He's up in the sky. It's not an illuminated space. Other than the lightning, that's maybe a missed opportunity in a couple of those closer panels. But,
right.
But the color that he is not his classic 100% magenta, 100% yellow, which we see in the final panel in these 2 pages.
Yeah, that purple's nice. It's almost like moonlit. And light. It's that you're
in the dark.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's very cool. Jason says, thanks, Anthony. I'm excited too. I read a lot of Jubilee to get ready for it. There's only one X-Men stream. Thanks, man. I'm assuming he means us.
I think he means Cerebro. But thank you, Trevor.
All good.
Okay, should we just continue on?
Please.
Okay.
And we get now one of my absolute favorite pages in this book.
The one about from being a skinny loser to being a big winner.
Right. Jason says, YT, it's a YouTube stream podcast, tomato, potato. I really love that they now kind of take us through, again, this mantra of every comic is somebody's first. So you need the recap, and we get a whole thing where we see that Storm was ambushed by Miss Locke, who is like a right hand of the Assassin Arcade. Professor X then assembles a whole group of X-Men to like two kind of units to rescue the loved ones of the X-Men, past and present. We see Storm, arriving and using her powers in a big way. The X-Men all fighting. We see the X-Men beaten by Xavier and Nightcrawler in a yellow room of pee-pee. What I really love about this is it just, again, that fun floating head design, like unconventional panel use. And then, different colors for each panel. Go. Like, It's so clear that these are different things happening at different moments in time, just communicated storytelling through color. And I think it looks really good.
I think it's great. It's a lovely storytelling device. It's a great use of the page. It's a great summary tool.
I think so too.
You know,
other than that drawing of Havoc at the top, where I'm not sure what his expression is. Drawing crowds of people is not easy, and having like faces all look good is not an easy thing. Yeah, Graydon doesn't like the yellow either. It's the pee-pee room that he was in.
But he had to try to get out of it. He's like, surrounded by some pee-pee. Surrounded.
David says, I actually stole this for my first Marvel work.
Good job, David. That's
awesome. No, it's a really good design. I like it a lot too. The yellow room just reminds me of this. Did you ever get to read All-Star Batman and Robin?
No, because by the time it came out, we were friends, and you swore me off it, and you would give me these synopses, and I'd be like, "That sounds terrible."
So there's this one.
There's a pee-pee room in it. Wouldn't be surprised.
There's this. I'm serious. Again, this is Frank Miller writing and Jim Lee drawing. So, two really notable creators. And there's a scene where Batman and Robin go to fight Green Lantern, and they ambush him in a room that they have painted yellow, and they are painted yellow. And it's like these characters are just in yellow paint. They're like it was.
So you tell me all Sinestro needed was a can of yellow paint?
David Cutler says the hero gets visions of the future, and it's done almost exactly like this. That's a great way to do it. That's a really good way to do it. I've seen it in Marvel Voices. Yes. A really cool way of using the shooter school of every issue of someone's first. Definitely. Definitely good.
Cool.
And then the arrow to turn the page, right?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah,
I like that.
It helps you out. Okay.
So should we start the read now?
I think we can, yeah. Okay.
Go for it.
I gambled. I was imprisoned in Doom's castle. Angel visited here last summer. According to his layout, the catacombs extended no more than a kilometer beneath the ground. I figured I could port a couple of miles, and that would give me sufficient margin of safety. I think if we were a cat, I'd be working on my 10th life by now. But my gamble paid off. I'm free. And if I can free the others, the X-Men will give Herr Dr. Doom a rematch he'll never forget.
Meanwhile, in Doom's study, Nightcrawler's escape has not gone unnoticed, and we see there, for those who did not get to read the last issue, the previous one, we see Storm in the middle ground. That is actually a robot that Doom has made to look like Storm for reasons. And in the background, we see a beautifully clad Storm in chrome. She's encased, and Doom made that happen. She's actually become chrome. She's like living chrome, and she can't move.
Mm-hmm.
And she is raging, using her powers to create these weather patterns.
That's right.
Yes, there you go.
Okay. Face it, Vic, you lost an X-Man. Don't that bother you none?
Do you want me to do Doom this time? So we're back and forth?
All right. Yeah.
Little man, have you no understanding of Doom? Remember, Arcade, I designed their death traps to test them. Their abilities, their intelligence, their courage. If the X-Men are truly as formidable as you have incessantly boasted, they will escape. If not...
Order, sir?
Nightcrawler is out. I wish him retaken alive and relatively unharmed.
Shoot, Vic, you sure know how to spoil a body's fun.
Arcade, you are beneath contempt. You are intellect without purpose, power without responsibility. Your only goal is your own self-gratification. What? Aurora, close that window at once.
As you command, Lord Doom.
This gale began soon after I defeated the X-Men on a night when clear skies were forecast. It is centered on this castle, and it worsens by the minute. Aurora Storm is a weather witch.
take a drink. Every time he says Weather Witch, Claremont writes that. We take a drink. Could this be her doing? No. She is helpless in a prison from which there is no escape, and yet, if not her, then who created this unnatural tempest, and controls it now?
One just little thing with Doom that I don't like about this drawing, he doesn't have a brow. Like those eye slits kind of just go straight up onto the forehead. A lot of other artists will give him a stronger face with a brow in there too, but he doesn't look as menacing in that little moment. Anyway,
yeah.
Then we have like the obligatory, NORAD government, the war room, kind of seeing, oh my god, a big storm. What are we gonna do?
I'm calling the president. Sir, there's a giant storm. Have you brought in your lawn furniture?
Yes.
I
love, David says, they say a weather witch, like it's an established thing. A weather witch. Because we all use that phrase all the time. There was a moment, maybe, I don't remember which issue it was. Maybe it was when, like Sebastian Shaw or something like that says it for the first time, and it was noted on one of the websites that I did some research on. That was like the first use of the trope of calling her a weather witch.
Okay.
There you go. Don't get political, Trevor. This is in reference to the weather map. At least that's how I'm reading it.
Do you want to do the back and forth of these goons? Because
I'll just do the narration quick, okay?
Okay, yeah.
Around Doom's castle, the wind roars and the thunder is felt more than heard. Occasionally, an explosive crack momentarily fills the air. The sound of centuries-old, 100-foot-tall fir trees being snapped in two at the base, and the lightning flashes so continuously that the castle is lit almost as bright as day.
I've seen a lot of weird things since I hired on with Doom, but this beats them all.
Well, what's the matter, Phil? You ain't seen a hurricane before?
Hey, I've seen my share of everything, Toby. This still beats them all. I mean, I don't mind telling you, partner, I'm scooped.
For further adventures of Phil and Toby, check out our new podcast, Further Adventures of Phil and Toby. What's going on, Toby?
Toby.
Oh, sir. Okay.
I think this is you.
Yeah, well, I gotta admit, I'd rather be in here than outside. If that Nightcrawler dude made it to the forest, he's got my sympathies. Listen to them trees go, Phil. At this rate, by morning, the slopes around here are gonna be scoured clean down to the bare rock. Oh, what's that, Phil? The window!
That's a great horror gag. That's a really fun. I like that. I mean, I don't think Nightcrawler looks the best. I mean, it's clear, like the wet hair, and it's kind of matted on his face, but that's a fun insertion. I like that.
He doesn't, up to this point, he hasn't really used his appearance to scare others. It's been like he shies away from that, right?
Good point.
So let him have a good time with it.
Yeah.
Graydon says it covers the entire east coast of North America. It is a very big storm.
It's a twister, Graydon, a twister.
Hired on with Doom. Wonder what that interview is like.
Well, okay. There's a presentation. There is a written component. Then there's a 3-person panel. Doom is on the panel. You then get to ask questions of Doom.
If he doesn't like you,
he kills you.
Nightcrawler howls, his voice topping the storm, and bares his teeth in a demonic snarl. I've also noticed that Claremont loves to use older words when he has a chance, and older spellings too, to create an air of not only sophistication but just, I don't know, like timelessness. I've forgotten the name of that letter. The letter that is an A and then with an E attached.
Yes,
I've used it. What's that?
Yes, no, I know it's got a name. Yeah, you're right.
It does, and we basically just use it with the two different letters, but it's also with the word Aesir, like for the Asgardians, the Aesir. I always forget the name of that letter, but anyway, he likes to use it when he can. These mercenaries are among the best in the world. Sure they are, buddy. Doom requires no less. So the X-Men's sudden appearance and horrifying visage freezes them for only a second because they're that good, Chris. These guys, Phil and Toby, are
best.
the best.
The best there is, Phil and Toby.
They're working at an abandoned amusement park castle up in upstate New York for Dr. Doom, and they are some of the best mercenaries in the world. Yet, by the time they recover their wits and open fire, Nightcrawler's somewhere else.
Guten Nacht, mein Herren. I hope you have the most unpleasant dreams.
Ugh.
That was refreshingly easy, and my brief scrap has generated a welcome adrenaline surge within me. For a brief time, I'll be operating at peak efficiency. Let's hope I'll finish my work before it wears off. The storm is working to my advantage, forcing Doom's goons to stay inside. The coast below is clear. Ready or not, my friends, here I come.
And speaking of those friends, Colossus.
Do you want me to do this too, or
if you'd like to? It is a lot of reading.
There's a lot of reading there.
Okay,
then let's, because I think there's more Colossus later.
Okay.
So this is.
Would you like to just explain what the scene is?
We can do that.
Would you like to, or do you want me to do it?
You go for it.
Basically, Colossus is in a death trap where there's like a cyclone underneath him, and there are lasers shooting the rock that he's on, and it's breaking. And he figures that he can't dive down because the lasers will shoot him. So he has a theory that perhaps they're only shooting things that are Colossus-sized or bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So he breaks off a rock that is smaller than Colossus-sized, Peter Rasputin-sized, and he throws that down. They don't shoot. So he's like, all right, I guess they won't shoot me if I go down, but I won't be able to breathe because I'm just human form. So he holds his breath, jumps down, and gets swept up in the cyclone, hoping to get to the bottom and find freedom.
And interestingly, this death trap confirms for us, and it was actually in the previous issue, last issue, that when Colossus is in his metallic form, he doesn't have to breathe.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Which I certainly didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Which also opens up a whole other huge range of possibilities for where this character can be and what they can do.
Yeah, space travel, man.
Space travel, underwater travel, right?
Yeah. And I wonder how long
quicksand travel. There's so many things.
Quicksand. I wonder how long he can stay in metal form too.
Right. Oh, right.
David is asking, do you guys remember the 2010's Jim Carrey SNL Halloween sketch, Hank and Phil? Not off the top of my head. No. Okay, then. Jason says, Reed Colossus like the Canadian actor who played him in the X films. That doesn't sound like fun.
Yeah, it sounds like our voices.
Yeah, we're Canadian actors. I mean, Canadians. But maybe just for Jason, maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
Maybe we'll work on our accent. And
well, we did. I think when we did, whenever we do Alpha Flight, we try to really up the Canadian.
Sure. I guess if I'm going to try and read between the lines of Jason's comment, he's passive-aggressively criticizing the casting choice.
I think so, too.
Right.
Oh, and interesting on that note, the casting choice. I did read, again, connecting this to the films, that actor was offered the role in the Deadpool movies, and he turned it down. Yeah. I had heard something along the line that was like he was part of whether he was going to just do the voice. That might have been it. Maybe they were always going to do like a CGI enhance because obviously that's that Colossus is massive in the Deadpool movies, right?
Yeah.
I think maybe that's it. Maybe they offered him the voice and he turned it down. There's something there where, yeah. Anyway.
Cool.
Yeah, I had read that somewhere on the internet.
Good reading.
Thanks, buddy.
So he goes under the water. He I like how he has his blue pants.
Yeah, I like these. I like these images. It kind of reminded me a little bit of maybe like a Dick Grayson, like a Nightwing kind of
looking young
vibe, you know.
Anyway, the guns don't shoot. He gets below, puts his powers back on, and then punches a hole in the wall with a giant foom.
He fooms it. He foomed the crap out of that wall.
Yeah. I wish I could foom something like that.
Don't you wish?
And then we get Angel, who's in a death trap that is basically a bird perch and lasers.
Yeah.
And every time he flies, he gets zapped, but he just figures the best way out because he's so good at doing what he does. Yeah, that he's the best. I got a hot flash for you, Doomsy. We're the best. He actually says that. He calls him Doomsy in his head. And he flies out and then gets hit with, what is that?
An avalanche?
Of waters, of foam, of...
I don't know, but you think he could fly above it.
But he doesn't. He gets glurped. So anyway, he's glurped and we move on. But there were lasers, and that's nice.
Yeah, this is an odd one because this exact escape is what he doesn't attempt in the previous issue. He's like, I can't. And apparently he can.
He also mentions that this is a lot like what they experienced in the Danger Room. So he feels very prepared for this.
Okay.
Now, just because he is the best character, should we read and there's dialogue. We read Wolverine.
Sure. I can do Mac. You can do.
That would be awesome. Thank you. There isn't too much, but it'd be Wolverine floats in a zero-gravity field in a cell whose op art paint scheme creates the illusion that there are no walls, no floor, no ceiling, only infinite space. His slightest moves trigger vicious psychedelic light shows that are methodically, inexorably driving him insane. It's a familiar battle, this struggle to hold on to his sanity, one he's fought all his life. He doesn't remember what set him off the day he almost killed James and Heather Hudson, his best friends, and the only family he'd ever known. It could have been a word, a gesture, a smell, he farted. His senses are so acute that he responds to subliminal clues. Most people don't even notice. You fart wrong, Wolverine kills you.
That's what Justin Jimmy.
Read between the lines. You fart, you're dead.
Dead, Jim.
It's weird seeing him in a uniform.
Yes, it's strange. It's nice to have this little nod to the flight, but it is strange to see him in uniform.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Logan, why are you doing this? We mean you no harm. You're safe with us. We love you. You're a rational being. You have an intellect. Use it. Don't simply react. Don't blindly follow your instincts and emotions. Think. Logan, control them. Control yourself. You're not an animal, my friend. You're a man.
You're right there, Mac. An animal wouldn't do some of the things I've done. Mac, Heather, I'm sorry. Whoop, did I do something?
No, it's all good. We're good.
All right. You guys have been good to me. So how do I repay you? By trying to tear your hearts out. Face facts, Mac. I'm crazy. A government-certified psycho-killing thing. I ought to be locked away.
You're ill, Logan. No more, no less. All we have to do is find a cure.
Mac tried. I'll give him that. The berserker spells came less and less frequently. And for a while, after I joined the X-Men, I got him pretty much completely under control. But lately, that control's been slipping. I'm becoming as much a danger to the X-Men as the creeps we fight.
This is like a bit of a new thread I didn't see coming. Like, I felt that the character had been moving towards control, and I mean, if we consider that he had an illness, I don't know if we ever thought about it that way before. Like Mac is saying, he's been ill, no more, no less.
Yeah.
I've never really thought of him as a person with an illness, although he is a psychopath. I just don't know. The kid in me doesn't see that as necessarily a bad thing. But I didn't think of the character as having more trouble coping with his berserker fits or berserker spells, as he calls it here, than he used to. I thought he was getting better. Anyway,
and look
maybe
at that middle panel there.
Oh yeah, it's good.
We talked about Cockrum, when he's earlier on the book and how he draws Wolverine or his take on it, and that hairline just keeps coming closer to the nose as much as possible, which is
it's wild.
You farted for the last time, bub.
It's definitely interesting. And I also like to, how we often talked about how during that first run with Claremont and Cockrum, like Wolverine is like, the secondary, tertiary character. He's like there, but hardly. And I see this I'm crazy, a government certified psycho killing thing. I feel that's the description that Cockrum feels as Wolverine.
Sure.
I don't know. We see some kind of government certified psycho killing thing.
I think that's what they both thought they inherited. And then,
right.
Obviously it moves away from that. I also like to think in the larger context that we know so much more about, Wolverine's journey. Like, what is the context in which he's wearing this uniform in that space? So he's gone. I know we don't have to do that. I'm just sort of saying it as a joke. But so he's gone down to Mac's lab where Heather is working.
Well, remember, she's like his assistant.
Sure. And
which is a clear conflict of interest in the workplace, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's down there in uniform for some reason. I always imagine him more of like a secret operative. I know he was in the military, but the same way that Bond is rarely ever in uniform as a naval commander. But anyway, I'm just surprised to see him. It's an interesting depiction.
For sure.
David says, I think Guardian is using like 1980s psychiatry. We just need to find a cure for PTSD. Graydon says, I don't love the features, but the tension is great. Yeah. That's I want to make jokes about my marriage. But I won't, because that won't go anywhere good. That's just funny.
Certainly not on YouTube.
Oh, definitely not. But I'm not. I like making jokes even though you're not supposed to. Anyway.
I can feel the berserker rage building inside me. If I cut loose, I'll revert to the animal side of my nature. So totally that I may never regain my humanity. I've been that route before. I'd rather die. Of course, nothing I could do then. I'd be safe.
And he continues to think about all these things, his rage, and he thinks about making it work for him. And he bounces off a wall and uses his senses. And then there is a drawing that does not look like it was Dave Cockrum's, but John Byrne's. Third panel on page 16. I think that is heavily informed by the version of Wolverine that Byrne was drawing in terms of the proportions of that chin. The mask almost looks different than what Cockrum usually draws. Looks like he just looked at a reference and did his own take. Because it's like the most Wolverine that we've seen from Cockrum up to this point. To me, I just see John Byrne proportions there. Anyway, maybe you will agree, maybe you don't. So he finally pulls the claws out and decides to slash at the wall. And wouldn't you know it, eventually it pays off. And he hits the ground. He's on the floor. Short-circuited the anti-gravity field. And he feels in control. Score 1 for the Psycho, he says.
Sure.
All right. I think, as I'm about to just look ahead here, I think we should switch the casting. And you want to take over Doom as we move forward?
Yeah.
All right. It takes Wolverine barely a minute to find a wall and cut his way to freedom. The floor is flooded. Remember, we've seen maybe the flood with Angel. We've seen the Colossus punched a hole. Wolverine's on his way. He's like, okay, I'll read from where he talks about the ozone.
They are stinking with ozone, and thunder is shaking the walls. Even down here, the castle must be in the middle of one butte of an electrical storm. This doesn't feel natural. If Roro created something this big and powerful, she must be fighting for her life. I got no time to corral the others. Roro needs my help. Now.
Soon, in Dr. Doom's private study,
Who dares? Wolverine?
On your toes, creeps. The cavalry just arrived. Following Doom's and Arcade's trails was child's play. But I couldn't find a trace of Storm's scent. There she is. But how come she ain't fighting Doom?
Aurora, deal with this diminutive upstart.
As you command, Lord Doom.
Not a chance, sweetheart.
and he smashes her face?
Yeah.
I don't know what he's hitting with his right hand. But she is down for the count. David says, mask aside, the second panel on their page is a burn crib too. We go back.
Mm-hmm.
The second panel. Oh, the one where he's floating? Like where he's bouncing off the wall. Jason says, now read Wolverine as Hugh Jackman being himself. Yeah, that's in our Patreon. We have like the different tiers of you get to decide who we read as.
He's Hugh Jackman. Yeah. Page 16.
Yeah, the second panel. Yeah, the one where he's bouncing downward. Is that what you're saying? I see what you mean. The classic Wolverine darting forward pose. Okay, cool. Oh, on page 17.
Yeah, it's 17, I think, is what it means.
I gotcha.
Walking up the stairs? Yeah.
Yeah. So he punches her right in the face. Oh, Jason says, I'll subscribe to that. OnlyFans reading.
Nice. Shirtless OnlyFans reading, by the way.
So he destroys the Storm robot. And then Flip, please.
He does destroy that robot.
And you'll see the wreckage of her on the next page.
Oh, yeah. Fascinating. And I thought I was ruthless.
A for effort, Doom. Your robot looked perfect. But I never go just by appearances. I know a person by their stance, smell, feel, their farts. I could tell what they ate for dinner. I've been with her for a week straight. I know every meal.
Tacos. It's always tacos.
I knew the minute I laid eyes on Storm that she was a fake. Ah!
She was only a toy, little man. Did you think you would deal with me as easily?
Easy or hard, it makes no difference. I'll keep coming, Doom. Until I get you. Please don't take this out of context, anybody.
Doom.
I think that is one of the most badass Wolverine pictures ever.
That's fantastic.
I love it.
Fantastic. And especially if that's the pose and then the bubble above is always like, I'll keep coming. Like it adds to it.
The idea of
until I get you.
Shadow, it always comes back to it's the things that you don't see that are the most interesting sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know if he's, burnt up or, what expression he has. But the choice to put him in shadow makes him so much more mysterious and menacing. I love that picture.
Oh, it's great. It's fantastic.
And it just gives me hope that there could be cool stuff from Cockrum.
That's exactly it. For, we've talked about the, Cockrum's versions of Wolverine. I mean, heck, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's a great one.
Yeah.
But why is he spending all the time with the ornate decoration behind him? Like, that's not adding? Maybe it does. Anyway.
He's probably he's like, wow, you love Burns' tech so much. Well, here's my ornate furniture design.
Jeez.
Wolverine continues,
materializing above Doom. It's Nightcrawler. Doom hasn't spotted him yet. But his brimstone stench is sure to give him away.
With a fearsome, demonic howl. Second time he's howling in this issue. Nightcrawler rips a huge tapestry off the wall. Tapestry? And dives for the floor.
Tapestries.
Beautiful, Crawler. You got him.
Cretin, Doom may be blind, but he is far from helpless.
Not bad, bub. You throw a fair punch.
Through a tapestry.
He throws a punch through the tapestry. That's pretty great.
I would love to see a whole brawl of just characters wrapped in sheets and tapestries fighting. It's ridiculous.
That'd be great.
Those teleports are, they're loud. There should be a bamf noise, but let's just assume that the lightning and thunder, the thunder specifically, and the rain on the roof, whatever, who knows? We're gonna fix the story for you. Anthony says Wolverine and or Nightcrawler being drawn in some kind of shadow is always good. Agreed.
Yeah, when we finally started seeing, I think it was probably, I don't know which episode issue it was. I think it's when they go to Ireland to fight Black Tom and Juggernaut, but that might be the first time we see Nightcrawler in the shadows, and it's awesome. Like, it's just
with or without the leprechauns.
No. The leprechauns add to it. The wee people.
One of the stupidest parts of any comic we've read so far. Let's see Byrne do a 70s era Baroque furniture carving.
Exactly.
I just love the idea of Dr. Doom with a tapestry on, like throwing punches wildly, like he's so upset.
Ooh, don't you know tapestries unlock my true power?
Too bad you're hitting a man with adamantium bones. Now it's my turn.
No.
And you're like hitting that armor and making little sparks, little magic sparks.
But,
It makes me think that, of course, that his armor is as strong as, right?
Right. Or maybe it's magic, infused
Right.
or something, right? Like you think Wolverine would take that guy's thumb right off.
Sure.
Right.
I offer a deal, Doom. Your life for Storms. Unless you think you can kill me before I poke these claws through your faceplate. Nice.
That's actually really cool. I like
Yeah.
that.
Then again, I'm one of the good guys. I could be bluffing.
You do not bluff, Wolverine. In that, we are very much alike.
Decide then.
She is on the, what is that, dais?
Dais.
Dais, thank you.
You're welcome.
She is on the dais behind you. My metabolic transmuter transformed her from flesh and blood into living chrome. This orb will reverse the process. Of ours, a cruel, sadistic.
Throw the ball, pal. If Doom's lying, he dies.
I love this version of Wolverine where he's right, like he's got Dr. Doom in a headlock with his claws at his eyes, and he's just willing to carve him out.
Oh, yeah.
It's great.
Scooby and Shaggy must be somewhere in Doom's castle, right?
That's right.
Zoink, Scoob!
Ralph Shaggy!
I have to say, I watched so much Scooby-Doo as a little kid.
Sure, yeah.
So, like, infinite Scooby-Doo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It was Scrappy Doo all the time.
Oh, I hated Scrappy-Doo.
Yeah, who liked Scrappy Doo? There we go.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Now, the greatest space fantasy of all is on radio. The most visually striking film of all time now has no sight, nothing to offer visually.
Yeah.
I imagine actually those were probably really fun.
Well, it's that era where everything, right? It's just the zeitgeist, right? So
Yeah.
I imagine, if you're a fan or a kid, you're like, oh, we gotta listen to this.
And it's Mark Hamill and Anthony Daniels.
Right.
So
But only Mark Hamill and only Anthony Daniels.
I also wonder how much of that is. Oh, sorry. It's the newly expanded adaptation of A New Hope.
Right.
Okay. That's cool. So it's not more stories.
And it's
just that.
NPR. NPR is cool. At least I don't know if NPR was cool in 1981, but it's cool now.
And also of note, they're already calling it A New Hope. Which is just
right.
interesting. It's not. It's not just called Star Wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Trevor says they were pretty good. The radio versions, cool.
Okay.
That's cool.
Is
Doom-
Mark Hamill? Does he do his Joker voice during Star Wars? That'd be even sweet.
Doom isn't lying.
That blinding flash of light. Mein lieber Frau, I hope we did the right thing.
Do you want me to read? Okay, yeah. Free, lords of earth and air. I am free.
And apparently
And then it
Phoenix.
Yeah, she turns into the Phoenix. She's even got like the fire head going.
Yeah.
Great choices on color on this one. Like this page reads really well, and putting the two characters in the foreground, or three characters in the foreground, in that like monotone, just give them that lavender, that grayish lavender. Like it really works to create depth of field. Right, put them in front of her. It looks really good.
It does.
Yeah. The tribes of Western Kenya. To the tribes of Western Kenya, Aurora was a goddess, mistress of the elements, bringer of life. They worshipped her, never realizing that essentially she was as human as they. Not a goddess, but a mutant. Homo superior. Then they talk about her trauma, as a kid, and her claustrophobia. Transformation into a living statue was the ultimate nightmare. In desperate, instinctive bid for freedom, her subconscious created within her an insatiable demand for power. That near infinite power, now unleashed, has evolved her beyond all comprehension. You mean into Phoenix?
Into Phoenix.
By the way, there was some relettering happening there. You can...
Oh, yeah, you can see.
You can see, if you look really closely, in the third line from the bottom, it says her insatiable demand for power. Like the insatiable demand for power is 4 words was added in at some point. Interesting.
I'm just going to draw your attention to an ad because it's the self-defense ad. It says Kung Fu Karate. It says learn unbeatable fighting power. It says new home study course certificate. So how many Kung Fu Karate badasses learn at home on a study course?
I think everyone who's ever...
I'm sure those kids were like, all right, now the lesson on breaking bricks with your head.
I think that everyone that believes that they have unbeatable fighting power is homeschooled.
I can't imagine how many kids hurt themselves.
Clearly, you're taking some pleasure with that.
I have you and I both have younger boys in our life, and children, and they get up to all kinds of shenanigans, and I can't imagine them seriously taking an at-home study course for self-defense.
Oh yeah.
That's all. Sorry, I just lends itself to all kinds of humor.
Trevor says Harry King, who is considered for Han Solo, does his voice. Cool.
Ooh.
That's very cool. Graydon is noting, I think, that Storm's costume is right out of Conan.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Is it Rossetti? Frank Rossetti? That's the
Frank Frazetta is a famous artist who worked on the covers of the novels.
Yes.
And comics eventually, and yeah. And John Buscema worked on them a lot in the magazines, and Barry Windsor Smith, but all that like sword and sorcery stuff, right? This is right out of that. The exotic, totally. Yeah. Not a goddess, but superior. About that karate ad, it's funny how that kind of get badass quick scam has graduated to YouTube.
Right.
Yeah. Anthony says 1981 ads predicting the future. Zoom karate. Those guys showing you how to disarm an intruder with a toilet paper roll. Nice. I'm looking at poems set to music. There it is on the right column there.
Yep. Poems set to music.
Let our staff of professional songwriters turn your words into a song.
Ooh.
Send your best poems for prompt consideration. Free examination. Songs recorded, phonograph records made. Nashville Music Productions.
Graydon, I think you seriously need to consider that.
I think you should consider doing that job. I'll take your random emails and tweets and turn them into music.
Nice. My haikus, actually. It's my haikus.
Back to the self-defense. You're ready. Now go take mom down. David says, going forward in X-Men, I can't tell you how much sense it makes that what Cockrum wanted to do was cull the Conqueror. Yes. There you go.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we see her doing all this amazing, good use of the splash, the big reveal. I'm down. And then just so effortlessly, Doom just...
Oof.
The two X-Men are stunned by her transfiguration. Doom is not. That was why he allowed them to free Storm, to provide the momentary diversion he needed to make his escape. In retrospect, however, he wonders if he should have left well enough alone. Do not run, Doom. It is a wasted effort. No place on earth can hide you from my wrath. No power or entity can protect you.
I deflected that lightning bolt, but the effort drained my armor's energy reserves. Another such attack may well destroy me.
This next panel of her face, really well drawn. Again, change the color, change the context. It's Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, and again, this is something. This is as soon as we've talked about this, and it's come up again. It's just like they've after that run, it just feels they've run out of ideas for a bit, and they rehash so many things.
Or they just don't know how to take Storm in a different direction. Like the idea of, okay, let's level her up. What does that look like? We only have one idea. It looks like Dark Phoenix. Like the idea of having a conflict, again, push her to realize herself as a more powerful individual is a good one for storytelling. Like that's a good comic, but it just falls back onto a rehashed concept.
And the other thing too is, and David mentioned this or brought this up at the very beginning, is like, okay, so now we're going to elevate Storm to godlike power. So then, having gone through the whole Dark Phoenix saga, like she couldn't level up at that point to become a worthy adversary for Phoenix.
Sure, that wasn't enough of a threat.
It feels like wasted now.
Sure.
So, because it was in her all along, apparently, to like be triggered to do this, like,
right?
Just like Phoenix, but now, right? I don't know.
Right, but now her.
Yeah,
wait,
now her.
Did Doom allow them to free Storm, or
apparently he did
escape? I don't think it could be both. I mean, it also might be that Claremont and Cockrum don't have the benefit of 40 more years of seeing stories about women told by other people. And seeing different ways we can have stories about powerful women. Like that they're falling back on these tropes of any woman with power is possibly the devil. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's out of control. It's emotional, right? That's the
right.
It's
But I imagine, a writer today would be able to come up with different avenues to take a character leveling up and having more power than they know what to do with. But this is where they're at. It would have been really funny if we were to insert a panel where instead of what these two guys are saying in the next one, like as Wolverine and Nightcrawler, they just go like Dark Phoenix scenario. Yep.
Yeah.
Yawn. Been there, done that.
Been there, done that.
So I'm just going to read the narration.
And he's like, and I'm not in love with this one.
Right. Well, he is in some good ways too. But I'm going to read the narration because it again is like so connected to Dark Phoenix stuff. Her breath is fire and ice. Her voice rolling thunder. She is one with the entire planet. And all its myriad elemental forces are hers to command, as her mind is overwhelmed by more and more intense sensations than she has ever conceived of, much less experienced. It's a progression the X-Men have seen before. Dude. Yeah, not Roro, not her too. Kurt, we got to stop her.
How?
And then she this also reminds me a little bit of like Lord of the Rings with
Galadriel. Yeah, I thought that exact same thing too.
Am I not beautiful, Lord Doom? And terrible, do not fear me. Like you should, you shall. Like that idea of
and these are words that Doom actually says, I think, in the first part of this. He says, "Do not feel like he." It's very similar this language. So I guess that's the reverse, right? The mirror language, yeah.
Right. David says, I'm more sympathetic to Storm as Phoenix. Yeah, me too. I have way more invested in Aurora than I do in Jean Grey. But that's probably part of my bias. David says, what he wanted to do with Phoenix got upended by having to kill her. Yeah, this is a neat thing. So we've talked about this before, that Claremont had no intention of Phoenix dying, and neither did Byrne. But Byrne inadvertently drew a scene where she destroyed an entire solar system, and editor-in-chief Jim Shooter insisted that there need to be a price to pay. You can't just destroy a solar system and continue on with your life. So Shooter demanded that they write her out of the series. So they do. But if anyone who's read or intends on reading or wants to read John Byrne's insane fan fiction, and I say insane not because I think it's done insanely, but I think the very idea that it exists makes me insane. John Byrne in recent years has done essentially an X-Men story without consent from, or without compensation from Marvel, or being published from Marvel. He just leaks it on his website. He's done the X-Men as if it continued from the time he left. So he's writing it and penciling and lettering it. And in it, Jean is alive and she has the mind of a child, and they're basically growing her back. Like she's a reclamation project. She's, kind of rehabbing.
Okay.
So they purified her, right? She's paid for her sin. She has to sort of start again. And that might have been the direction that those guys were going to take all along, was that she would have to, she would be knocked down, or she was depowered. What they were originally going to do. And then, bring her back eventually.
Wait a minute. And then, so depowered, but still a woman, but with a mind of a child?
I think that might be the Byrne side of it. I think Byrne in
how does that work with Cyclops? That's kind of weird.
Oh, she lives with her parents.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. There isn't a relationship that's going on. Yeah.
Didn't know
Luckily.
Didn't know where that was going.
For sure. Anthony says it's a shame in a way that they're trying to parallel the reveal that Storm is truly this powerful to what happened with Phoenix. Yeah, it is. It's not really doing much for me at all. So
what does Sex Fine say?
Yeah, I've tried.
Sex Fine says the Storm Phoenix analogies.
Yeah.
How fun would that be if a bot actually showed up and gave some real cutting depth analysis of a panel?
It would be ridiculous.
That would be.
I'm interested. So she faces off against Doom, right? Which is, I do want to see them fight. I want to see like Doom. Like maybe if I'm trying now too hard to fix the story, maybe if Doom had been working on something, like he had uncovered a spell book and he's unleashing something, and she levels up to stop the thing that he's unleashing, right? Or whatever it is. So I wouldn't mind seeing them go toe to toe. Him being an incredibly powerful villain and her being an incredibly powerful hero. I'm into that. Anyway, do you want to start with Colossus?
Sure.
Okay.
My father watched me to the lowest levels of the castle catacombs. It took seemingly forever to climb out. By the White Wolf, what is happening here? Aurora has changed. She is attacking both Doom and our fellow X-Men. I had best remove everyone from harm's way.
His method is simple but effective. He smashes the granite floor of the study, trusting that Nightcrawler's phenomenal agility, Wolverine's adamantium-laced skeleton, and Doom's armor will prevent their being seriously injured.
Aurora, it is Peter. I stand before you as a friend.
I have no friends. I need none.
You are so different.
I am, little brother. I am power incarnate. I am dark. I am power.
And she even has like her hair on. I know it's lightning, but it's like fire.
Sure, it's lightning.
Right. My mental form naturally attracts your lightning bolts. Even the tiniest strike causes me pain. However, I can withstand their onslaught for the moment.
Sorry, did you say Onslaught? I think that's a great idea for a villain name.
Oh, my goodness. Good job. I must endure. Try to reach Aurora before it is too late.
I have no wish to harm you, Pyotr Nikolaevich. Begone!
No!
David says, I am Rogue Storm, and so begins the Rogue Storm saga.
With Lilandra. Rogue Storm is too powerful, must be destroyed. God damn it. Should we do
Please.
Angel or... All right.
Yes.
Phew, nothing like being in time for the main event. Troops, there's a gale blowing outside like you wouldn't believe. I can't survive those winds. Nothing living can. They're tearing the castle apart and the land around it. We'll face a rogue storm here as well, Tovarish. Johnny Doom. All right.
If I could but reach my laboratory.
Haven't you already done enough, Doom? I'll lay any odds you're responsible for this.
Assess blame when the crisis is past, Angel, assuming we live so long. My intellect, that was for you, intellect, my powers, my devices are the only thing that can save us.
Your intellect, your powers, your devices are finite, Doom. They have limits. I have none. For all your posturing, you are still no more than a man. I am a goddess.
No, you are Aurora. Remember that, Windrider. Find yourself once more. Find your soul, your humanity. Hold on to that with all your heart and all your strength, or we are lost. You face the Gorgon within you, Aurora, as Phoenix did. You must triumph, as she did not.
Do we say that, like the Gorgon within you? Is that a thing?
Well, it's a Russian thing, I think.
Is there a Gorgon within everybody?
Well, in Russia, yeah.
Oh, okay. Like my ancestry kind of was in Russia, I think. Does that mean? So, like when I have stomach pains, is it the Gorgon inside me?
Well, yeah, it's the snake heads of the Gorgon inside you that are, trying to get out. Turn everybody to stone.
Like, okay. Because anyway, Phoenix, the name sparks images of a laughing red-haired woman who was Aurora's dearest friend. And these scattershot memories spark an awareness of who Aurora is and what she has become. Aww. She screams in rage and grief for her dead friend, for herself, and then rides a spear of raw energy through the heart of the storm to the edge of space. If I were the Avenger, Thor, I could disperse the storm with a thought. But I must work with the forces of nature, not ride roughshod over them and gently shape them to my will. The effort, as tremendous as the Holocaust itself.
Jesus.
What? She doesn't mean the Holocaust. She means like the storm.
Well, yeah.
I did not dream I was capable of creating such a thing. So yeah, she has to turn the storm off, and it's really, 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 really hard.
But that image, that third panel with her face in the wind, that's cool. In the wind.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So yeah, she basically, she has nothing left in the tank after she ends the storm, and Angel goes to fly up and get her, which is what he's there for.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, go get her. Yeah. And then
catches her, and
yeah, and then they land.
Yeah.
And then the sunrise. And thank you, Angel.
Sunrise.
I like this part.
Anytime, Storm. After all, what are heroes for? Going somewhere, comrade Arcade. Hey, be a power, Colossus. Let me go. I think not. And unless you behave yourself, I will leave you to Wolverine's tender mercies.
Sounds good to me, bub. I am pleased that you are alive and well, Aurora.
I bet.
What does that mean? Because he's attracted to her. It's like he's saying because she's beautiful, I guess.
Exactly.
Lord Doom.
Oh, you already okay.
I ask a final time for Arcade. Innocent lives are at stake. We must have him, and your pledge to take no further hostile action toward him. You ask much, child. He insulted me. Honor demands satisfaction. An apology will suffice. You heard him, Arcade. Apologize.
No way, Bimbo.
Wolverine?
I'm sorry. I'll never insult or bother you again. Vic, you got my word.
For what it's worth. Aurora, I, too, would like to apologize. I am a creature of habit. You X-Men attacked my home. Seemingly without provocation, I have responded in kind. I am now smiling creepily through this mask because I can see through your dress. Sorry, his face looks funny there. I would hope that we might begin anew. You are a fascinating woman. I should like to know you better. Very well, Lord Doom. We part neither as friends nor enemies. Our slate is clean. The next move, for good or ill, is yours.
You know what line isn't in here where Doom says, I'd like to know you better. Game, recognize game, Aurora.
And then we get a page once you flip that is
this is such a bizarre thing. Oh my god.
Out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere.
So for those who have not been following along, for some reason, it has been yet explained, for 3 issues, Cyclops has been stranded on Gilligan's Island with his girlfriend, Lee Forrester. And he's lost his visor and ruby quartz glasses. So he's covered his face, his eyes, and blindfold, so he can't use his powers. And as he wakes up, he calls her Jean.
Classic Scott.
I love it. Like morning yourself, Jean. Jean? Who's Jean?
Huh?
Like, me. I'm sorry, I thought you were someone else. Obviously. Want to talk about it? Not particularly.
No, I call all of my lovers Jean.
It's like I'm missing my blue jeans. Yeah, jeans. That's
jeans.
right.
Where are my jeans? Oh, they're jean shorts now. They're jorts. Okay.
And across from the island, there is I don't know what that is.
It's a narrative device to set up the next issue.
Yep. Cry, mutant. Yeah, pretty fun. Really, really weird ending. The whole thing with Doom I find just so strange that Arcade is his prisoner for a reason. And then he just lets him go just because he apologizes like a little douche. Like,
it doesn't match the stakes, right? Doom is a class A antagonist, right? And Arcade's a pick squeak of an assassin.
Mm-hmm.
And just he's great to write like in different ways. I didn't even notice that before.
Eyes. I didn't notice it either. Clearly, neither did both artists and the editor.
But this is again, this is like what's the next story? Oh, let's throw in some villains and Matt and there's just no cohesion yet. We had 30 issues of lead up, and unless hints are being dropped and things are being set up, we got used to it for over 2 years of comics, and now we have these. I guess it's 4 issues in a row because the first one is Despair and Cyclops, and 3 Doom and Arcade, and just a villain of the week, kind of.
Sure. They have the eyes. It's for whatever reason, it's not as bad in the original art.
Oh, okay.
Hold on. I'm gonna just compare here because now I can see it really up close. I wonder if the coloring is off register. Not too much, just a tiny bit. The coloring is off register, which makes her eye look higher up than it actually is. Like the white of her eye is a little blurry on mine.
Okay.
But it might also just be partially the optical illusion of when you cut a face into pieces. It might make us think that her eye is more askew than it is. It's not as bad in the really beautiful print here, but it still is. It still is fucked. She's got googly eyes, which is bizarre. And then the next issue, I needed to spoil for myself to see what it was in 148, because I want to see what.
Oh yeah,
what they're facing. Oh my god!
Let me take a look right here.
You're not going to believe this.
Oh, I'm gonna bring up the cover at least. Take a look at the cover. I'm curious.
I'll tell you this: there's a lot of Cyclops walking around in jean shorts and nothing else.
Holy crud! I don't know. I'm already not liking it. Let's go to the Avengers.
Oh, it's okay. But the next issue also features some other characters, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
There's some guest stars like Dazzler.
Guest stars of the week.
And Spider-Woman.
This week on X-Men.
And that's kind of cool. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens there. But as I mentioned before, we are going to detour. And next week, we are going to actually cover Avengers Annual 10 from 1981. We're going to stray from our X-Men theme. No, that's not true. We're going to stray from the strict mandate of only showing X-Men comics, but staying within the X-Men theme, because Chris Claremont writes an Avengers Annual, and it features prominent X-Men characters in it and greatly informs the X-Men series moving forward. So my thinking is we're going to eventually have some questions come up on our stream about what's happening in X-Men, and the answer would be, well, you should have gone and read Avengers Annual 10. So we're just going to read Avengers Annual 10 next week. And, like how you've got the X-Men box set there. Do you have it on hand?
Here it is.
I never revealed this. Look at that. 40 years of Avengers. So, and 40 years of X-Men. Unbelievable. So I've got this one on hand, and the scans are good. I got multiple versions of it. I have a version where it's modern color, like digital color, and we can actually look at the contrast to see like why we prefer or why we choose to read these old ones. It really is quite shocking.
Do you have a copy of that comic in physical copy?
I do. That was one that I got before it was prohibitively expensive. It is because it is Michael Golden art, and is the first appearance of Rogue, and I think another character too. It is, it's a collector's item. And once Rogue as a character blew up in the mid to late 80s and through the 90s with the TV show, that comic book is kind of out of reach financially. But my copy is. I've read it many different times.
Does it deal with the fallout of what happened to Phil and Toby?
Well, first, like it's a fat comic. The first like 25 pages maybe are just about Phil and Toby on a Thelma and Louise type road trip, trying to escape from their work as Doom.
I thought they're going to go like Route 66. Like Toby have always wanted to do it. Phil's like, fine, we're gonna go, because maybe one of them's dying of something, maybe one of them's sick, and it's like a lot anyway. It
goes off the rails, and they eventually they meet Brad Pitt. It's really quite unpredictable. It's a big surprise. So next week, Avengers Annual 10, it's really cool. It stars everybody. It's like a real Marvel mashup. Obviously, the Avengers are in it.
It's the end game of the Avenger Annuals.
Yes,
everybody.
It's like a behemoth of an issue. It's great. A lot of fun to read, and a spectacular sight, as Michael Golden is just a premier talent who we don't ever get enough of. At least I'd never get enough of him and his art. So that's pretty cool. In terms of, we've talked about the arcade action figure before. I think I showed it last time maybe when we had him in the 120s. I got my Doomy Doom is one of those guys there. There's Doom. We showed him before. He great figure. Storm's there too. She's flying.
Is Doom in a white costume now? Like Magneto? Have I seen that somewhere?
Yeah, there definitely is a white Doctor Doom action figure. That is the same figure essentially as this one.
Okay.
Excellent figures. Like they're really good. But I'm a much bigger fan of just my old Secret Wars Doctor Doom and Wolverine, who fought. And my figures are of those two are right there. I love those.
The Secret Wars one is like he's like a yeah. It's so different.
Right. So this was a thing from Mattel, the toy company, when they licensed the Marvel characters and they wanted to make the action figures. They specifically said we do not want that old medieval costume. Right. So right away in the comic book, they just got rid of that costume and gave him this kind of tech-heavy chest piece. Yeah. And now he has the same like arms and legs as Iron Man.
Sure.
And the helmet's the same. You got some rifles that come off, like a rifle that comes off the backpack piece, the sidearm which comes out of the little holster, which is kind of cool, and a neat shield, a lenticular shield. Do you see it changing?
Yeah, that's cool. It's like a visionary.
Yeah.
Remember Visionaries?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Jason says the White Doom is post-Secret Wars.
See, and that's like the second modern. Secret Wars. The modern.
At least. You know how like the joke is that every crossover in Marvel has to have the word secret in it, and then every crossover at DC has to have the word crisis in it.
I didn't know that was the joke, but that makes total sense.
It's like they're just connecting to a brand, right? It's there. Yeah. And then here's the Wolverine. And this was one of the first things I ever saw of Wolverine. Pieces of merch.
His claws are down to the floor.
They are massive and they're external, right? So as a kid, if you didn't have, a lot of kids like had access to seeing the character or seeing comics, but never read or never paid attention to the lore. So there would be always, conversations with those kids that were just half in. They weren't all the way invested, and they didn't know that it was, a bionic claw coming out.
You knew. You told those kids.
I paid attention. I didn't like to talk to those kids because I knew that they would dismiss me anyway. Like they weren't interested in knowledge. They were just wanted to have some fun. Let them have their fun. Let them have their fun.
Let them have their tartar sauce.
Exactly. Hey, by the way, is it the syllable count that gets you to fall into that accent, that pronunciation that you like when it is so immaculate? Like you just intricate. There's just.
I think it's the multiple hard consonants.
Right. You go full Dr. Evil every time.
Yeah, and that's exactly where it comes from. That's exactly. It's for sure.
It's a lot of fun. I'm glad you do it. Marvel does a lot of wars too, of course. Civil, Armor, Infinity. Yeah, man. You know your stuff. You should work for them. I was half in when I was a kid. I got confused by Iceman and Silver Surfer when I was 5. That's another thing altogether. I think like the little kid impressions of things is a really charming aspect of comic books or movies or whatever it might be. I'm tickled by hearing those stories about what little kids think. So next week, Avengers Annual 10, you want to announce what we're doing? I mean, we're going to drop on Instagram tomorrow. Like,
we got a new comic coming out. Instagram comic coming out. So if you're familiar with what we've done in the past, we've taken a month, 3 panels a day, 15 minutes per panel. We've done Peregrine's, Londinium. These are one-shots. Peregrine's, the obstacle course was our first foray into this. And our third one is dropping for the holidays, starting December 1st. So December 1st running until December 31st. Brand new story called Peregrine's Hunter's Moon.
Yep.
And brand new adventure. Really excited to share it with you all. Really excited to release it. Really excited to go through the process of Jason and I calling each other on days like, what happens today? We're like, I don't know. Because this is very much something that is kind of on the fly. A little bit. So we're excited to release that. Please look for that on the Group of 7 Comics Instagram channel. And I'm sure Jay and I will both repost on our own personal channels too, but just to get the word out there. But Peregrine, Hunter's Moon drops December 1st. Group of 7 Comics Instagram.
Can't believe it. It's such a different way to make comics, like in terms of it's not a premeditated script. Like, you've written your four-parter of the Peregrines arc, or your six-parter of the original Group of Seven arc. And then this is just like these one shots that really it's like an hour a day of making and post.
Yeah.
And there's something so interesting about not having it perfect and not being able to even strive for anything close to perfection, but strive for clarity and simplicity, right? And aesthetics are a secondary concern. It's a lot of fun.
And the other thing that's interesting about it too, and we had this, we did a lot of shows this year, and it was amazing, and we traveled all over, and we found that we have these at our tables, we'd have our comics and these one shots, and they'd have these different methods of production, and different versions, different things appealed to different people. We had a lot of conversations with people who picked up the one shots, these Instagram comics, because by the end of the month we've got 90 panels, we've got a comic book there, and we printed these short print runs, and people love the energy. Some people were really attracted to the energy of 15 minutes per panel, kind of in the moment, and not a real polished product. And some people really like the polished product. It just connects differently with different people. And we have so much fun doing it because it's just, again, in the moment. And, we do plot out things we would like to see happen. We just don't know how it all strings together yet. So, yeah.
Yeah. I like there was one thing that I wanted to see before I understood where the characters were going to go. I had this, this severed head should go,
Oh yeah.
It's just a thing a person wants to see, like a fan like me wants to see it happen. Some head fall at people's feet, right out of every other adventure movie where there are severed heads. But of course, that doesn't work in this story anymore, right? As I understand it. But it's a fun thing. It was, that was one of the things that was supposed to be. Sorry, not supposed to be. It was an early version of Endgame. Was that when the three original Avenger dudes go to confront Thanos in the ruins of the Avengers compound. They find him there, and he's like he's blood soaked. He's got his, as my son calls it, the double shaver.
Oh yeah.
And he just like throws down a Captain America head from a different timeline. Like, just, I've killed you already, bud. Like, here's your head.
Right. Wow.
And it was just to up the intensity or the stakes and the tension. But of course, it wasn't the right match for the brand. But it was just the idea that it was a power move, right? Here's your head. This is I just killed you 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. Here's me walking into your house and taking a dump on your carpet.
And by carpet, I mean pillow.
Pillow.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, there you go.
Yeah. It's a fun way for us to end our 5th year anniversary extravaganza, putting comics out in the world. This is how we're ending it. Making comics, putting it out there. We couldn't be happier. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's such a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
To draw Peregrines every day and have them be sketchy and move on. It's liberating.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Thanks everyone for hanging out with us. Please click like and subscribe to the channel.
Smash that like, bros.
Share with anyone that you think would enjoy this kind of thing. I'd love to see us get up to 135 subscribers. It would be a lot of fun.
132 and counting.
Yeah. It's been a fun plateau. Again, you can get our comics at www.group7comics.ca, and of course the 7 is a number, and you can find the one shots there. You can find the other 2 parts so far of the ongoing Peregrines 4-parter, and you can get our trade paperback, which is out of print. I mean, we only have a few copies left. Group of 7, A Most Secret Tale. These make fantastic gifts around these holidays.
They fit in stockings really well, or just general gifts. It's wonderful.
You can follow us on our socials. You can see them here, as well as at Group of 7 Comics on all of the socials. And again, the number 7 is the number. And that brings us to the end of episode 56, focusing on issue 147 of the Uncanny X-Men. Thank you for hanging with us. We hope you guys had a good time, and we will see you again next week. Any last words, Chris Sanagan?
Nope.
Go Leafs, go.